Thank you for staying with us on WION on the special on how internationally countries are adopting to demonetization. We are with our panelists Suyash Bhatt and Jasper Reed, and a rather interesting conversation really going on there about the entire world going digital and how India is also slowly but steadily likely to catch on to that trend. Now, there are a lot of local currencies across the world. You've got the Totnes pound in Devon in England. You've got the Chiemgauer in Rosenheim in Germany. And there are many, many more such local currencies around the world. Few experts feel that they provide the right kind of opportunity to strengthen the local economy. We're going to throw some light on that one. But before that, let's just first get a response from Dr. Suyash Bhatt on something really pertinent. Dr. Bhatt, India did a demonetization exercise in the year 1978, if you remember. Apparently, it has not hurt us the way it has hurt us now. Why do you think that has happened?
Right. So it's a very interesting, it's also a coincidence that at that time also our governor was I.G. Patel, and we have now Urjit Patel. And the popular at that time when they did this kind of demonetization, the target was to hit the black money part of it, but the unfortunate part was only 10% of the currency or the storage of wealth was in high value denominated currencies at that time, whereas according to RBI reports in 2016 we have up to 86% of wealth in the form of high denominated currencies, that is 1,000 and 500. And something which was not impactful that time was also because the scale at which it affected only select few. And second, there was no such thoughtful cap which this government has come up with, where you can exchange 4,000 or 4,500, and sometimes now they have suddenly again changed it to 2,000 rupees. So these kind of caps were not put. So even if you had some kind of cash, you can go to a bank, just change it, and no questions were asked, no identity was established. So technically there were a lot of ways of getting out of it. But what has happened this time is probably much more, I would say, well planned, and also in terms, it has really hit the right places. So you can see even in the indices, your markets have corrected, real estate sector. So all those places wherever black money or cash based consumption was happening, all of them have got affected. And of course the common man also got affected in this process. But it's simply because in 1,000 rupees in 1978 probably you could have bought 5 square feet of some flat or something in Mumbai. In 1,000 rupees today, you can't even imagine buying, forget flat, not even a tile in Mumbai. So, it's a very different world today. And these currencies are probably the most popularly used even by a common man. So, I think it has struck the common man and also people who hoard black money, both of them. It's a right move, but any change, as we say, we always experience resistance to change. So, but in long term, I think it should give its rightful outcome in terms of your fiscal improving, in terms of your government collecting more taxes, in terms of your currency also appreciating. And it has in long term all these would be something which would be seen in a very positive way, and that's why you find a lot of investors or global community appreciating it a lot, because there's a step in the right direction.
Jasper, he mentioned that investors in the global fraternity are looking at this very positively, and this is a step in the right direction, is what Dr. Suyash Bhatt has to say. Now, Jasper, somebody like you is bringing international brands to India a lot. You have recently got a lot of investment into India through the brands that you're bringing in. How are your clients and how are you viewing this move, and do you find India a better place to do business in? And let's do a comparison with the other countries as well that are slowly going cashless, and how do you all look at investments in those countries as well? Give us a global perspective on this, Jasper.
So the simple answer, Cheti, is that we're very positive about this. And I think when I talk to my investors in London, who are largely institutions or family offices, I've heard nothing but supportive noises. Having said that, I think that we see demonetisation and the clampdown on the black economy as a chess game, and this move has been a very bold move by Prime Minister Modi. It's kind of a classic king's opening gambit, to use a chess term. But many more moves will be required to quarantine the issue. And one of the things that we're pondering is that while it's a very good move and very positive, is it actually, as much as anything, just a very easy move versus, for example, the GST move, which is a much more complicated technical item. So I think we're incredibly supportive of this, but we're also interested to see the rest of the chess game play out. Now, as far as other markets go, in very simple terms, the smaller the black economy, the smaller the level of regulation, the more familiar, at least for us who are looking at it through a Western lens, which isn't always the right lens, the more attracted we are by the market. So we're hugely positive about this in India, but there's a lot of game to play out.
You know, now shifting focus a little bit from India and, of course, understanding the parallel economy, or rather the parallel currency market better. Now, Suyash, I'm going to come to you actually for this one. Let's understand from you how local currencies around the world are really contributing to the economy. As few experts that I spoke to today said, they actually end up strengthening the economy. What are these, for the benefit of our viewers? Do explain to us what these parallel currency really are. Like I gave the example earlier of the Totnes in Devon, and I also gave the example of Chiemgauer in Rosenheim in Germany as well. First, let's start off with what are these parallel currencies? How do they run parallel to the actual currency of the country? And then come to how it really strengthens the economy as well.
Right. So it's the moment you have many countries have this format of dual currencies, and it helps in two ways. So as of now, if we see any currency, say for example INR, you have two things that are happening. One is internal consumption, so domestic story where exchange of goods are happening in return of cash. And there's also the second part, that's the current account part of it. So how much does your country spend in terms of dollar terms, and how much does it earn in dollar terms? And even that has an impact on the value of currency. So it's a very complex relationship. So there are two things which affect your domestic currency. One is your current account, and second is your fiscal account. Now, fiscal account is nothing but your government expenditure against income. So the moment I have a dual currency, so a separate local currency, what I'm essentially saying is I'm insulating the domestic market from global volatility. So I may have, as a country, you know, a lot of expenditure in dollar and maybe very less income in dollar. And to bridge that gap, I may have to borrow some money in dollar, but it has nothing to do with our domestic currency. And the advantage is it protects your economy from a lot of global shocks that come around. Like, say for example, if your crude oil prices go up, to some extent you can insulate your economy from that, or any other global turmoil that happens, you know, maybe the subprime crisis kind of a thing. You can to a great extent insulate your local economy from the global you know, turmoil that is happening. But the flip side is that the moment you bring in dual currency, you would have it's also a sign that you're not able to manage your economy well, and that's why you had to separate these two. And on a domestic front, you had probably much more relaxed policy where you wanted to print a lot of currency and allow people to spend money so that the economy boosts. But on an international front, probably you are not too confident. If you have both value as same, then probably your currency may fall. So internationally, if I keep printing currency, domestic currency, my currency value would go down. So it's a tough call.
So you're trying to say if India...
I'm not sure whether on one hand we are talking about, yeah.
No, so you're trying to say that India has the rupee, and if India again now goes on to introduce a different currency, which is just a domestic currency, there would be a huge flip side to this, because the rupee might just depreciate instead of appreciating. And of course, when you have this parallel currency market running, firstly, how does it work? That is the main question. And what does it really do to the pricing in the economy as well? And is this move just to protect the incumbents? So from what I'm understanding is that countries that are introducing these parallel currency markets are doing more so to protect the incumbents rather than anything else, is it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong on this one.
Right. True. So so the moment you want your economy to be insulated from any turmoil
external
and
shocks.
Any external changes,
right,
you can go for this format. But then you are sending a wrong message to the international community, where you are saying that you are a progressive country, you have put everything in order, you know how to spend money, you know how to earn money, and the moment you separate these two, that means you are trying to say that your domestic economy is something altogether a different animal to be dealt with, and your international deals are completely different. So in an emerging market, it's a tough call, but in a developed economy you can do that. Why? Because you don't have that kind of disparity. In India you have a huge disparity in terms of purchasing power. So you grow from one state to other, you have a different buying capacity, and it may not send. So in an emerging market, African countries have tried to do this, but it has fallen flat on their face in terms of their currency falling or depreciating at a dramatic pace, because it's an indication that you are not able to put your house in order.
Right. Jasper, have you really encountered these currencies anywhere in the world? And if you have, and the answer is yes, then could you throw some light on how successful these complementary local currencies are, or probably what the downsides really are in an economy as well, when you have something of this nature coming in parallel to the existing currency of the country?
Well, Chaiti, unlike our esteemed fellow panelists, I'm not an economist, so
right.
I won't comment on in large-scale exercises in parallel currencies. I am
right.
familiar with the Totnes pound, which is a very interesting experiment that happened not long after the global financial crisis in 2008. Now, Totnes is a rather chic, somewhat bourgeois town in the southwest of England, and they, as you know, took on a local currency called the Totnes pound. Now, what's interesting about that is this is a small rural community who in many ways are very advanced in terms of the economic cycle. Their reasons for taking on this currency were in the end everything to do with identity and very little to do with economics, which provides a fascinating foretaste of the way people might think about currency in the future. I mean, as it relates to India, I think we've got our work cut out with one currency and swapping out banknotes rather than getting into parallel currencies. But in the future, it may be that currency has a lot to do with identity, and all around the world you're seeing a rejection of centralism. So that's kind of food for thought.
Right. Now, what is interesting now here in this entire debate is to note that there is a certain amount of crash crunch that we're dealing with in the market, and that is now encouraging the good old barter system. Now, just for the benefit of our viewers, a lot of villages in India have gone back to the barter system. Now, in the 1930s, the barter had made a comeback during the Great Depression because there was a serious crunch in the market. So, Yash, do you feel that the barter system still exists anywhere else in the world? And probably it's the time for a lot of villages and smaller fragmented markets in India to relook at the barter system, and how does it really work versus the cash economy as well? Because it clearly seems like the barter is the answer clearly for the cash crunch that we are currently going through.
Right. So it's it does exist in many ways, and in 1930s, if or even before that, it used to exist. So now, as we evolve as a society, as we say, popularly, you can't deal with simple things. So let's complicate it. So we complicated it by introducing, maybe gold standards. So your currency suddenly got, pegged to maybe how much of gold that a country has. Then over a period of time, we said, okay, fine. Once the entire world cracked that code, then we said, let's complicate it further. So we made a society where we said that everything is pegged against US dollar, and that's where the evolution has happened. But I'm sure the current phase that our economy is going through, barter system is something which even was happening before this shock came in. So a lot of businesses that I know of, where you say that so-called black money is generated. So typically you buy raw material, and I'm not trying to encourage people to do something like that. I'm just quoting an example or from what I know from my sources, that if you want to if you run an industry where you're producing, say, ceramic tiles, I buy raw material, and in return instead of I give them credit in terms of either funding them in making a plant, or probably giving them extra line of credit to probably purchase more things. So my vendors get credit from me, and I also sell it in the cash market to builders or whosoever needs it. And in the entire value chain that you have, there's a give and take which happens. And since it's all not reported, the taxman is at loss. So this is at an industry level. At a probably rural level, you may do it even in a much more convenient way, because the amount that you're dealing with is much lower. And it's this cash crunch definitely would make people think of alternative ways of dealing without currency. So I'm sure there are a lot of good things that are going to come out of it. Also spending would go down, that's for sure.
Now, on a very lighter note, people who are queuing up outside the ATMs and banks and not being able to use their hard-earned money, is this probably going to even spur a bit of a barter system even in the urban economy if this situation is not brought into control by the government? Would we see a comeback of sorts?
By nature are innovative. So yes. Yes, so every time the government makes a rule, we have a whole host of people who would sit back and understand how do you break this code, and I'm sure some of them must have come up with the answer to this.
Now, Jasper, what do you think? Cash versus barter economy. We saw the comeback of the barter economy in the year 1930s as well, during the time of recession. Now, what's your take on this particular school of thought?
Well, it's interesting actually, because when one thinks about barter, even that needs to be thought through a bit. So I'm not sure it's as simple as barter versus currency, because you can see even within barter, down history, there's been many examples of cultures where it's not a simple trade between two items of similar value. There's such a thing, of course, as the gifting economies, where rather than trading two goats for the use of a plough, you actually trade a system of favours and gifts. So I think it's a very intriguing idea. I have no particular economic comment on it, but again, in the sort of post-rational world, you could maybe see how people live together by trading things, but not always of equal value.
And on a winding note, this is a question going out to both my panelists, but since we're talking to Jasper now, we will stay with Jasper with this first. Now, for South Asian countries and the other emerging economies rather that you are currently doing business with, which one do you see as a better bet? Cash economy, card economy, or a lovely balance of the two coming in? And in case you choose the balance bit, then what is the percentage of cash versus plastic money really that you would like to ideally see in a utopian world, Jasper? And this we're talking about Pan-Asian, South Asian economies.
Wouldn't it be nice, Chaiti, to imagine a utopian world? But in the absence of having a utopian world, I think I'll plumb for your third option, which was a balance of the two. In the end, and this is just guesswork, my view is there always has to be room in the economy for a non-digital, cash-based element of currency and exchange. So, 70%, but that's a guess. But I think, going back to India, long way to run.
70% you're going with cash or plastic?
Tough times in the short term. No, plastic, Chaiti, plastic.
And 30% cash. So you're gravitating more towards plastic money. Go on, sorry.
No, I think that's about it, really. But just to end from me, I think, very positive move from Prime Minister Modi, very tough for the guys on the street in the short term, very tough for traders, but long term, I think something that certainly as an international investor we're very pro and very behind.
All right, thank you so much, Jasper, for that. Now, Dr. Bhatt, very quickly, we have very little time left on the show. So, which one do you think is a better bet, a cashless economy or a plastic money economy, or a right balance between the two? And if, again, your answer is the last one, then what's the percentage that is most likely to work for Asian countries and especially India?
Right. So I think for Asian countries, it should be somewhere around 60-40, because most of the Asian currencies have this problem of the last mile and second identity. So I think till they sort this problem out, I think even if you can bring 60% on a reported format, and when I say cash, that 40% cash, that doesn't mean it's all non-paying tax and all that, but it's just for convenience. In smaller denomination, people can use that just for convenience. So it's 60-40 would be the one which I'll go for.
All right, thank you so much to our panelists for joining us right here on the special discussion on the global demonetization that we are talking about today. Thank you so much, Jasper Reed, Dr. Suyash Bhatt, and of course, Klaus Ahren, who joined us from Sweden as well. Thanks for tuning into WION. I'll see you soon.